I've been teaching for over 15 years, and what I see more is part of the training in school now is to be able to write this argumentative essay. So we're training students to argue with each other. I've got my facts, you've got your facts. One side's gonna win. And I think just from looking at the last election, I think people were pretty unhappy with that system. So this class is a civics watch class. We're looking at the midterm elections, and I decided to have the kids argue from a place of values instead of from issues, with the idea being that from a place of values you can have more in common with other people, or at least more conversation with the other side of an issue. Rather than just shouting our issues, we can talk about our values. Like, everybody wants to be safe. That's just, we can all have that in common.
What I care about most with this upcoming election is voter ID laws. Mainly because I want to protect the votes and the voters and the candidates, really. I want to protect the integrity of democracy. There's really two sides of it. There's one side that says it is protecting us from fraudulent votes, and it's really necessary to make sure that the candidate that we're voting in is the one that the Americans want. But another side is saying that it's cutting out just as many votes, especially minorities and people in poverty, that it's doing more harm than good. And I believe in both of those things. I think that we should have the voter ID laws, but we should make it really available for people who are being cut out by this law. It's our responsibility to give people the means to get an ID to vote. Like, it's their right as an American.
So with the immigration issues nowadays, I really feel like no one should be judged by the color of their skin. Like, that's not who they are. They have a personality inside of them, and just because they're black or white or Mexican or anything like that, they should not be treated differently.
We all have the same blood, the same organs and everything. We may speak different languages, but we can overcome that obstacle, because together we are stronger as a humanity. Instead of fighting each other, starting wars that will tear us apart in the end.
I am a part of Generation Z, which is the youngest generation of Americans, and I'm 15, and hopefully in a few years when I graduate from high school I'll be off to college. Recently there have been debates about free speech on college campuses. On one hand, there have been students using violent hate speech against transgender students and students of different races. On the other hand, the other students pushing back against this by employing their right to assemble and protest. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker and the candidate for governor, Tony Evers, happen to have opposing views on this issue of campus free speech. Walker, on one hand, wants to preserve free speech on campus by allowing hate speech and punishing the people who push against it. Tony Evers, however, wants to preserve free speech on campus by protecting the rights of students to assemble in peaceful protest. This provides an interesting issue concerning free speech. Will you protect the right to express individual opinions or the right to peacefully assemble? It's a really complicated issue for me because I believe in free speech just very intensely. But on the other hand, I am transgender. I identify as transgender, and I feel like these people using hate speech makes me feel unsafe on college campuses and infringes on my ability to learn and be the best student I can be. And I want to find a compromise, but it's difficult, and I don't know.
I'm feeling pretty optimistic, especially after this class. We had a group from the University of Wisconsin, young Republicans, come in, and the kids had a conversation with them, and they got to know them, and by the end they were surprised. And they were like, oh, they're just like people. And I was like, yeah, it turns out we're all just like people, and when you turn off the media and you actually talk to somebody, you find you have a lot more in common. I think that changed both the way the Republicans saw these kids in the way these kids saw the Republicans. I think it was really positive.
I really feel about my generation, I feel really hopeful because we've definitely grown up with so much more resources available to us than other generations. We have so much more opportunity to become educated ourselves and to group together as Americans to invoke change. Racism is being more recognized, and sexism, and there's way more open talk about changing those aspects of society, and there's more groups to look up to. I mean, the majority of my life we had a black president.
I'm a bit scared with global warming, especially with global warming. I've done a lot of research on it. And I hope that humanity changes its act. But you know, the future, it'll happen. Something will happen. We have to prepare for it. Yeah.
Right now in the world especially, like, having hope is a very important thing because you never really know what's going to happen, and you have hope that, like, it will, like, eventually be okay and that not everything's going to, like, completely blow up.